I want to provide people access to making the world better in an easier way. So it's like, people are like, I don't know how to make the world better. I'm like, well, here, I'll show you. This is what you can do. So it really evolved past the pandemic into, the corner of art and activism, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around the weight of the world.
Yeah.
We can't do everything. We can't fix everything.
No.
But if everybody fixes something, we're a lot better off. That's funny that La Hope deal, I wouldn't have thought of that. And linguistically, I think that had it been something like La Dealer, La Dealer du Hope, or La Dealer du whatever it is in French, it would have worked. It would have flown. But I still like LA Hope Dealer, and I think
I agree.
That's very apt. Because you trade in positivity in a lot of ways, but also being a little pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry's seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about.
Yes.
Your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hersh Rephun.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast. Yes.
With me today on Yes Brand is Corie Mattie. Corie is an artist. I was just looking at her website where she has her trademark doves and other imagery, and it says good art makes you think, great art makes you do, which is really, really awesome stuff. It's fun for me as a writer to see an artist who incorporate text so much into her work.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna talk about a collab that the streetwear brand that I have with my business partner Isaac Fadlon called the KOSHER Brand did a collab with Corie and with another artist, Jeremy Novy, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. It's been a long time coming.
My pleasure. Yes, I know. I was going to say, I'm glad we put it together. We got to put it together. Let's start there. Actually, you're super busy.
Yes.
And anyone who's super busy is really happy to be so.
Yep.
But tell the audience a little bit what you're busy doing and how it happened.
Well, I mean, as of right now, it was like, I just got back from my first solo show, which was in Bisbee, Arizona. It was a great success. It was awesome. Met a lot of cool people. I'm working on creating some things for National Wildlife after P22, the famous mountain lion, has passed. So I'm busy on that. And I'm working on a mock-up to actually submit to West Hollywood to do a wildlife. So I got to submit that by Monday. So there's a lot of little things in the pot right now within like these 2 weeks, my exhibition is still up until February. There's a lot of good things coming up. So it's just like a good way to start off the Q1. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Fantastic. And also you have the moniker LA Hope Dealer.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you? How did that name come up for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I really took off in the pandemic when everyone was inside. I decided to go outside, and outside being alone, outside, not to, socialize. And
right.
I really took to the streets to do murals and messages, throughout LA about, being in this together and having this positivity aspect when life felt so negative. So, I did the first mural and I woke up and it was featured in LA Times the next day. And that's when I was like, oh my God, 0 to 100. I have to keep doing this because this is my way in. This is how I'm going to get that traction. So I didn't want to put just Corie Mattie. And I was like, what can I use that like really makes sense to the community right now and like what I want to do in the long run. And so I came up with LA Hope Dealer. It was supposed to be La Hope Dealer, like the Hope Dealer, but it was Spanish.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it hit harder when, LA Hope Dealer just rolls off the tongue way better. And then it kind of, with everything that I have, there's a QR code next to it. So that's why the quote you were talking about, good art makes you think, great art makes you do. The reason I came up with that was because if I can have someone look at a wall and then actually go over and scan the QR code and even learn more or even, donate, then that's great art and I'm making them do something. I want to provide people access to making the world better in an easier way. So it's like, people are like, I don't know how to make the world better. I'm like, well, here, I'll show you. This is what you can do. So it really evolved past the pandemic into, the corner of art and activism. and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around the weight of the world.
Yeah.
We can't do everything. We can't fix everything.
No.
But if everybody fixes something, we're a lot better off. That's funny that La Hope deal, like I wouldn't have thought of that. And linguistically, I think that had it been something like La Dealer du Hope, or La Dealer du whatever it is in French, it would have worked. It would have flown. But I still like LA Hope Dealer, and I think
I agree.
That's very apt.
Yeah.
Because you trade in positivity in a lot of ways, but also being a little pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's also people get like a little like surprised because when they meet me, I'm like, it's not. I'm pretty intense, Hersh, but it's like, it's not me being like angry at the world. It's like, why are we doing it this way? Why wouldn't we make this world better? Like, it's like an anger to turn into positivity, it's intensity to make this place,
Yeah, and you're that way about painting, also about work, where you're like, why can't we do this tomorrow?
Yep.
Let's do it. Let's get it. It could be 15 feet by 30 feet. And you're like, okay, well, let's just do it. Let's just get it done tomorrow.
1,000%.
And so of the work that you've done, and we'll include, in the show notes stuff, we'll show some work.
Great.
And we'll show the shirt, and we'll show all this other stuff. So there'll be a companion piece that people need, because especially when you're talking to an artist, I think it's important for them to have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
But actually, when did the doves enter the scene?
Yeah, so the first mural I did, it said "Cancel Plans, Not Humanity," and it was like in West Hollywood, and that's when I first did the Hope Dealer with like she's opening the coat and it says "Hope" on the inside, and I was like, well, what else could be flying out of her coat? So that's why I drew that one dove, and I was like, well, I can't put myself all over the city, which I would love to do.
Right.
Let me try and simplify it and find something that I could replicate quickly.
Yeah.
That's really where the dove came to fruition. It just like kind of really stuck. It's easy for me to duplicate, and it's it's eye catching, and it makes sense. It has a lot of different meanings to different people, and so that's why I kind of just took it and ran and emphasized more the dove than myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And although I do looking at that image with the coat, with the robe.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's really cool to look at. But as far as like a logo goes or something like that, you wouldn't.
It's too detailed for that, so like
it's too
just
detailed.
made sense,
Talk a little bit about the Betty White mural.
Yes. I mean, that's actually up right now for her 1 year. I think her birthday is next week. Yeah, her birthday's next week.
Oh, yeah.
She would have been 101. But yeah, I mean, Betty White's has always been like, I love Golden Girls. I grew up watching Golden Girls. So like Betty White was like, if I could have met anyone, I'm like, this is the girl that I wanted to meet, And then so right before the end of 2021, right? That was, she passed New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
My my manager, was like, Corie, she just passed, and I was like, oh shit, I got to do something. So that's when I talked to Isaac, and I was just like, please let me have this wall. And before her birthday, we put the "Be More Like Betty" up, because to me, she was like a force to be reckoned with. She was a trailblazer, like to her loving animals, to, fighting, equality in entertainment with women and racially. She just like did her own thing, not giving a fuck, and like just had a sense of humor to do it and to push the boundaries of, even like just her joking sexually as a woman, she was way
right.
And so that's when I was like, I have to pay tribute somehow. And then I knew that she was such an animal lover, so I put a QR code that goes to Wagmore Pets, which is a dog rescue in Studio City. And actually, on her birthday, we raised $20,000 through that QR code.
That's great.
Crazy.
I just remember being amazed how immediately it seemed it went up.
Yeah, like, I think that's my like superpower. It's like people sit on it for a while, and I'm like, and that's blessing and a curse. Where I'm like, oh no, I'm getting it up because I know I have to be the first one, and I know XYZ. Like I have this almost down pat. I'm like, when
you're the TMZ of the art world.
I am, and honestly,
you're like, you break everything first.
That they picked it up. TMZ. That was the one time they picked up my mural, and I was like, this is sick.
Yeah,
it was awesome. So yeah, it's up
That's
until
great.
the end of January, just to like pay a little tribute, to her, even after 1 year.
Nice. And then there's always a through line with your work, like you just said, kind of connecting wildlife or animals, and then animal lover, and then an icon that inspired you, and then some. So that always flows that way. but you did a project with Mercedes.
Yes.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that project, because that's yet again like an interesting kind of, creative experiment, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But go ahead in your own words.
Yeah. So we did a project with Mercedes, and it was like right around, it was, we were still in the pandemic, so it was 2020, but like a lot has intensified with people and, racially and stuff. And so it was, we were trying to think of a concept that made sense to all different parties, where it's like, no matter what,
Right.
This is like, this world is so questionable right now, but like, there's still going to be hope. There's always still going to be hope, that the belief that there is, and can be a better future. So like, that's why, like, for me to incorporate a Mercedes, I'm like, how am I going to do that? So I like pulled a classic Mercedes car, had the Hope dealer in there, had birds coming off of her hand, and then it was kind of like, it was more light. It wasn't as like heavy, like politically like driven as some of my other stuff and some of the other stuff that was going up in street art. So we had to like find that happy medium of like, all right, we're trying to touch on this, but like also in a way where it's like, okay, this seems like all hope is lost, but it's still there,
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah. It's a good place to be, where you appreciate who a brand is versus, just doing activism.
Yeah, exactly.
Just activism art, where you may get a sponsor that's also in activist, but it's different when you have brand considerations,
1000%.
especially a legacy brand or a really, really established brand.
Yeah.
There was another recent one that I remember you doing, which I'm gathering was not branded. That was a mural.
Yep.
What was that?
Well,
so
now it's
forgive me for not remembering it now. I know, but
well,
it was before the whole thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
It was before his explosion into anti-Semitism.
Yeah, that was,
was
wild. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Oh my God. But it was fighting against student
before
loans.
that.
It was student loans. So it was like before he had his like outburst on hating everyone. Right after his documentary came out, Genius.
Right.
So then I wrote, like, I drew him in, like, because, his first two albums when he was, the old Kanye was about like, college dropout and The Graduate, and like playing off of like, what are we doing in this system? Like, why are we in this? Like, so like, he really spoke to me. I mean, he spoke to most people in his younger artistry, but so I drew him in his graduation cap, and then I said, what would a genius do? But I spelled genius like how they spelled it in the documentary. And then the QR code goes to him talking about student loans and like, why are we getting into debt like at 18 when we don't know anything? So it was more of like, and it was important also that it was in the Fame Yard, because Melrose is like culture, so Kanye, hip hop, student loans, like it also has to make sense in the current location, So and it had a really great feedback, and then he had to go and ruin it, which is fine, but it was up for a while, But I like to be able to blend things that are almost a little scary to digestible,
Yeah, I think that's why it popped into my head, was because even before he went off and being crazy, honestly, just in a new way than he had been. And, just being like, okay, dude's nuts.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not going to put up a mural
exactly
to counter the notion of hatred, because that's not, we don't want to give more air to hatred.
It was really
so. But anyway, on the flip side of that is this collaboration that we've done.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't talk about the Kosher Brand that much on this show, although we want to do a contest next season.
Oh, yeah?
Where, it's a very simple contest. I mean, I tried it a number of different ways, and I complicated it all kinds of ways. It was just impossible. Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was impossible to do. So the thing was, how many brands can you name in 30 seconds? Right? Because that makes sense for a podcast about branding. How many brand names can you list in 30 seconds? You can't look at a list. You can't cheat. You can't, but it seems that most people can do about between 7 and 10. You would think like, oh, you could do one a second or whatever, but people get caught up and a few seconds go by. But what they'll win is they'll win a package from the Kosher Brand, and it'll have the Own Your Happy, limited edition T-shirt in it.
Sick.
And maybe something from you and something from Jeremy that don't ordinarily come with the gift. So Isaac and I are talking about it, but we haven't like launched the contest yet. But so the Kosher Brand is rooted in kindness, inclusivity, and equality. Yep. And to me, the biggest thing is kindness. When people have the notion that somehow kindness is weakness, that somehow goodness is weakness. And I think you're emblematic of the fact that hope and goodness and belief in the best in people is not a weakness, that it doesn't come from a weak person.
Yep.
And so I love that. And you had the doves, and Jeremy has kind of branded the koi fish. And we see both of your stuff all over LA, and it's really interesting. And he's very interesting. He's reserved and doesn't do a lot of interviews. But tell us what inspired you.
Yeah, so I mean,
to come up with that.
I mean, initially we were talking about this around Pride, and and again, like, Pride is year round. So I know Jeremy, he creates these koi fish as like safe spaces. Like as a reminder that we could have safe places to go. And I've always admired his work, and like, the dove and the koi fish kind of fit so well together, which is like ironic because one's in the air, one's in the sea. But that's what makes it great, because like during Pride, we were talking about that commonality of like, how it says own your happy in the center. It's like, be who you want, whatever you want to be, like identify however you want to be, as long as like you are happy and you are living your true self. Like, who cares about anything else? And I think that's why we created that shirt as a reminder. It's like, two things that are, one's in the air, one's in the sea, are still aesthetically pleasing, where they're still being able to coincide, even on a shirt, which obviously stands for something larger than that, So it's like really like owning your happy, making sure that no matter what people have said, that you stick to who you are and what really, makes you content in life, because you're living it, no one else is, So we want to come up with that kind of reminder for people that, who, I don't know if I can curse on here, but like, who cares? You can curse.
No. Yeah, you can curse. It has an explicit warning.
Yeah. Like, who gives a fuck what other people say? Do your fucking thing. And like, I think that's why that, those three words are still so powerful, because there's so much meaning behind it. Like, owning your happy, own your happy. Like, that's a command,
Yeah. So, it's fantastic. When you sent us the design, which looked beautiful, we each thought that it needed some text.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think in the context of knowing now what the words are, the image
makes sense.
Is very clear. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But I think when people see something, the verbal call to action, which is in a lot, if not all of your work, is really immediately arresting. So when people hear "Own Your Happy," which is just great. And, I love him.
I love it. I can't wait till it's on a billboard, Hersh. You already know. Yeah,
I know. And it will be on a billboard, which is another great thing. And I'm telling you, it will get attention. And the thing about that is that you, as a writer, have you worked or done art just as a writer?
No, that's actually weird.
Without combining?
You're the second person that has asked me that. Because, like, I'm not even a good writer, but I'm good at finding, like, a few key words that are going to hit you in the gut. Like, I can barely speak. I'm not a good speaker, So it's, like, for me, it's, like, I can't, like, sit down and write a fucking paragraph about shit. It's, like, but I can find those taglines that are going to make people stop and be like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that alone, and I know at this point in my career, I know good writing. And I know when my writing's good, and I know when somebody's writing is like not to fuck with it.
Yeah.
Like, I am not a tinkerer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for the sake of tinkering with shit. Because if somebody's line is right on, by the same token, if it's off by one letter or one word, I can hopefully find that word, and then we can, nuance it and adjust it together. But what you said there is like I can't write I can't fucking write for shit, or say something like, I can't fucking write for shit, but I can come up with a tagline that'll make people stop and go, holy shit.
Yep, truly, that's what it is.
Like but that's advertising. That's what good advertising is. Yeah. So I think that, and it's also about economy, and anybody can write 2,000 words, but if you could write 2 or 3 words that really resonate, that's what people are really into.
And that's what people care, everyone's attention span is quick now. So it's like, they want to read it and move on. I don't want to read a fucking paragraph of something. It has to be really intriguing for me, Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in marketing.
So, Yeah. And I love that also, which is that, you know, we're all trying to survive as artists.
Yeah.
We want to live, we want to be productive, and we want to make a living, and we want our art to be appreciated, and we want the messages to be impactful. But none of those things are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
There's no reason why. That's what Isaac and I had to remind ourselves with the KOSHER Brand, was that, well, should it be simply a nonprofit, although we did create a formal nonprofit, and we're doing things like what you worked on with us for World Mental Health Day, for World Jenny Day, where we started to work with a young artist, with a high school artist, giving her an opportunity to create some stuff. We ended up also working with a street artist to create a mural, and all of that stuff. And that's kind of what the Keep It Kosher project is all about.
Yeah.
And hopefully that'll grow to a larger scale and support artists who need materials and places to get their positive messaging out.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But so, okay, so now tell me a little bit, you can tell me a little bit about Jeremy, right? I don't want to exclude Jeremy, but I don't know what he likes to share. I just know I asked for a photo, and he sent me a photo of him wearing the mask that you wear when you're spray painting. And which is a great picture still, but that tells you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I don't know much more than you. I've just always admired his work, and I know he's in the he's a heavy for the LGBTQIA plus community. And he lived in Northern California, like in San Francisco, the Bay Area. Yeah, but he has a presence definitely in Los Angeles. So I think it was also important for me to find someone that is a part of the same community I am. Right. And it is interesting because my face is everywhere, but a lot of street artists, they don't want their face out there, So like, right. I'm very different than other artists, where it's like, I draw myself and I'm on the wall. Yeah. A lot of people want to be hidden, so it's like, I can't blame them, but I'm an open book and a lot of people aren't. Yeah. And that's fine, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. And I think I met him briefly one time in 2020, like right when I started LA Hope Dealer, but I have not met him yet again. And I would love to. So I'm hoping that once the billboard's up and we can launch that, maybe he can find time to come to LA and even do a little collaboration in the fame yard or whatnot. Yeah, it would be great. I hope he likes the, the way it turned out, the image. And I think everyone seems pretty thrilled about it. So I think it's exciting. Yeah. 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 And he did reply to an email at one point. So I think he replied to an email like very, very quickly or briefly. And I took that as an amazingly sign. Yeah. So the P22 piece, which is beautiful, but I don't know if that's everything that you did or are you doing something. The one, so I just did that. He passed, 2 weeks ago, and I did that in the fame yard. Yeah. I don't know, I finished on a Tuesday. I don't know, you know me, I'm quick. Yeah. And now, I'm involved with National Wildlife to, get involved with his on February 4th, which is at the Greek Theater, holds 5,000 people. It sold out in 2.5 hours. So this mountain lion is really changing a lot of things. Not even in LA, but, even some of my shirts, they're being shipped out to Texas and New York. And I'm like, damn, this cat has a reach, so now it's almost like we're at the crux of being like, okay, he passed, but how can we use him to bring more awareness to saving, LA cougars and conservation efforts in urban areas and whatnot. So, we're planning a few campaigns. Hopefully I submit something, like I said, on Monday to hopefully have a mural done before the memorial, but about conservation and wildlife and, living amongst humans. And, I'm going to integrate some AR, which is the first time I'm really going to integrate AR to a mural. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very cool. Yeah, it'll be really neat. Yeah. So on this show, the way I usually end the episode is I ask the guest to, impart any kind of message or anything they want to share. And it's interesting for you because your whole career is messaging. Yeah. And it's like creating an entire context for it. Yeah. But in the context of a show where people are listening, my guests are often not in the creative fields at all. Yeah. They're CEOs or founders. And so a lot of the listeners are also people who are small business owners or entrepreneurs, people trying to often do something with purpose in the world. So speaking to that audience, I'll give you the last word and you can just kind of
give a little message to those peeps and like, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, it's important to have these types of conversations and really incorporate art with branding and marketing and, whether you're a small business or a large business, because, there's a fine line between like putting something out there to like just forcefully, market something versus working with an artist to almost like make it their own and like collaborate on something versus like say Colossal Media. Great. They're hand painting and that it's awesome. Like they're hand painting, but it's an ad. So I think the future literally is working with artists side by side to create a message that's just as powerful, but it's still technically an ad, but it doesn't feel like an ad. So I think people have to find that happy medium. And I think people are starting to realize that in business, like even like with influencers. To me, influencers are kind of dead. It's more of who's impacting the world, who's creating something. Like influencers are still valuable for sure, but there's a trend now that's happening that's like, well, what are they actually doing in the real world? Because we need positivity, we need action. We don't need likes, subscriptions. We need things that are happening in real life, and I think brands are starting to realize that. And I think if the sooner you find that happy medium, the sooner you're ahead of the game, if that makes sense.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yes.